President Trump responding to a new report by Axios that he would be considering meeting with disputed Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro because he thinks the U.S.-backed opposition leader Juan Guaido is weak. The president responding just a short time ago saying this: "I would only meet with Maduro to discuss one thing, a peaceful exit from power." Joining us now, General Jack Keane, chairman of the Institute for the Study of War and Fox News senior strategic analyst. I could ask first, General, if that surprises you, but would it be a good idea for the president to meet with Maduro?
Well, let's take the first one. No, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, the president has always been willing to meet with his adversaries, no matter how authoritarian they are, no matter how repressive they are. And I think personal diplomacy has been an important part of his presidency, and that's not going to change. In terms of whether we should have the meeting or not, I think we got to think about a couple of things. One is Maduro is there as a fraud. I mean, he took power as a result of a fraudulent election. Guaido, as a result of being the president of the General Assembly, declared himself the president, and 60-plus nations, to include the United States, have recognized Guaido as the president of Venezuela. So would the meeting give Maduro a lot of legitimacy? I think it would. But the president's goal, I think, is a good one. In other words, I'm only going to meet with him if we're willing to talk about Maduro leaving and leaving peacefully. So I think the first step is not to say, yes, I want to have a meeting, is to let the State Department work at the staff level first with Maduro's team, and let's see what kind of cards he's really putting on the table. We don't want to walk down the path that we did with the North Koreans, where they gave us the overture, and I think meeting with the North Korean leader was the right thing to do, but clearly they haven't come through, and we're stalemated. So I think that's the first reasonable step. Let's find out what Maduro's real intentions are here.
And we have an opportunity to look back in some cases via John Bolton, what he says, his own account of the president inside the White House in this new book. As you know, General, is grabbing a lot of headlines, the president's former national security advisor. This is an excerpt from the room where it happened. He says, "By spring, Trump was calling Guaido the Beto O'Rourke of Venezuela, hardly the sort of compliment an ally of the United States should expect. We know that Vice President Mike Pence, Pompeo, they've invested a huge amount of energy in Guaido." General. So when you have the president expressing what one could easily call second thoughts or indicating that he doesn't have a lot of confidence in Guaido, what does this tell you about the future of the Trump administration's policy on Venezuela?
Well, I think anybody looking at Venezuela, and certainly the administration leaders who had to deal with this issue in the State Department, Treasury, the National Security Advisor, John Bolton, who you mentioned, and the president, would likely be frustrated. Frustrated by what? Well, one, I think we underestimated Maduro's strength. And obviously, he's been propped up by the Cubans and the Russians. The Russians are very decisive in sending in a private security firm to provide personal protection. Putin sent one of his top advisors in to advise Maduro. The Cubans had thousands of goons there that were putting down the legitimate civilian protests. And Guaido also, I believe, our intelligence people would tell us, I don't know, I haven't spoken to him, but I'll bet anything that they have concluded that when Guaido was talking to our administration leaders, he was exaggerating his ability to overthrow the regime by popular support of the people, and that the military, who is really the key here, would support him. They would turn away from Maduro and support Guaido. That did not happen. As a matter of fact, only a few military soldiers supported him. None of the principal leaders supported him. So looking back on it, we didn't have good intelligence clearly on Maduro's stay in power and also on Guaido's strength to actually be able to overthrow this regime. So I think frustration is there, and it's being manifested in comments that certainly Ambassador Bolton is making in his book. But I think private administration officials are frustrated by it as well, I would imagine.
Well, it's a brand new interview and brand new reaction from the president himself in that Axios interview. So we'll see what he does in the coming days and weeks on Venezuela. General Jack Keane, always good to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, good talking to you, Sandra.